Hey, Chad. Here we go. I appreciate that. That's it's a doctor's visit. Oh man, no. Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, okay. Burkhardt said he's going to be in around 4:15. Okay, okay, sounds good.
All right, now 3 o'clock chat here. We start with NBA trade deadline news. The Trailblazers acquired Celtics guard Delano Blanton for a future second-round pick. OKC acquired Gordon Hayward from the Hornets for guards Trey Mann, Valisay Micic, and forward Davis Bertans. Brooklyn acquired Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young from the Raptors in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie. The New York Knicks acquired Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Pistons in exchange for Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, and Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks. The Jazz get Kelly Olynyk to the Raptors in exchange for a first-rounder, and the Sixers have acquired Buddy Hield from the Pacers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. And how about the Sixers? They sent Patrick Beverley to the Bucks and Jaden Springer to the Boston Celtics for second-round picks. Dame and Beverley now together on the same team. All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive Chat doing here. What a day, what a day. The Godfather Dwight Jaynes returns tomorrow. My man Mike Oakes is at Master Control. And what a big sports week it is. The NBA trade deadline is now come and gone. And we got the big game with the Chiefs. And who are they playing? Oh, the 49ers. That's coming up on Sunday from Las Vegas. So a lot of big things coming up. I'm going to have Sean Highkin from the Rose Garden Report. He'll join me coming up in 20 minutes. And we'll get his take on the trade deadline for the Trailblazers. Nothing big went down, not a surprise. But we'll take a look at why they made the moves they made and what the plan is moving forward now for the rest of the season and into the summer. So we'll talk with Sean Highkin coming up at 3:20. And then Trailblazer Game Day will kick off at 4:30. Chris Burkhardt will join me, and we'll get you set for the tip-off tonight. The Pistons and Trailblazers from Moda Center as we now officially enter the stretch run of the NBA season now that we're past the halfway point in terms of games played. And, of course, now past the NBA trade deadline. You can reach out to me on X. You'll find me there at Chad and Rip City. The telephone number here is 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. And Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report is going to join us coming up at 3:20. Now, the most important matter at hand is what's coming up tomorrow. The Rip City Drive is going to be live from the Jackson's Food Mart, which is right across the freeway. It's at the corner of I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road, and we're going to be chilling for a cause. So Dwight and I are going to be inside the beer cooler, which is kept at a frosty 37 degrees, and we're going to be there for 3 hours from 3 until 6. We are hoping to have a very special guest stop by in person. Alex Brink, former Coug, will stop by and jump in the cooler. The voice of your Portland Trailblazers, Travis Demers, is going to jump in the cooler. Justin Myers is going to stop by. So we'll have some in-cooler guests, which is going to be great. But I want you to come by, too. If you're in the area, you've got a couple of minutes, you can stop by and say hi. Come on back to the cooler, check us out. And just by stopping by, you can enter to win Trailblazer tickets. And we're doing everything for ALS Northwest to raise money and awareness for ALS Northwest. And Lance Christian from ALS Northwest also will be joining us in the cooler. But it's a great opportunity for us to get together, say hi, but most importantly, do something for a very special cause, because ALS is a hideous disease, and it has a tremendous impact on many families and people in our community right here in Oregon and Southwest Washington. And my grandfather passed away from ALS, and I saw it ravage his body, and I saw the incredible amount of pressure that it put on my grandmother to care for him. The expense and the difficulties in caring for someone with ALS are extreme. And that's why it's great to have organizations like ALS Northwest who can step up and help people. So right now, if you go to our website, go to ripcityradio.com, and if you click on the little 3 bars in the upper left-hand corner of the homepage, you'll get the drop-down menu. And if you just roll on down to contests and promotions and hit that, you'll see right there, Rip City Radio is chilling for a cause. So hit that. It will take you to our main page for Chilling for a Cause. And then from there, you're going to be able to find the link for our auction. And that's going to be the key, because right now you can bid on items. And big props to the Portland Trailblazers for stepping up and providing us with some great auction items. We have autographed Trailblazer team basketballs. We have autographed Trailblazer pennants. We also have your opportunity to enjoy a Trailblazer game in the Coors Light Silver Seats. 4 tickets. You get to sit at the captain chair, the throne, which is the Coors Light Silver Seats. They've got the Colorel technology to keep your beverage cold, cushy seats, and phone chargers. Get the prize and then split it up with you and the other 3 people that will be gone. You can also bid to be a Trailblazer reporter for a day and join me at an upcoming Trailblazer game this year. Be a member of the press for a game. We sit at press row. You have a press pass. We take in the game. You see how everything operates behind the scenes, and then we take part in the post-game press conference. Maybe you're a parent that has a child that wants to get into media, sports media. That'd be a great gift. And you're raising money for a very good cause. We have an autographed Scoot Henderson Trailblazer jersey you can bid on. We also have a VIP night up at RVN Style Resorts Amphitheater up in Clark County. You pick the show. I'd recommend the Doobies. You get to sit in the suite area. You have a server to take care of you, the whole shebang. Also, one that's getting a lot of play is your opportunity to play golf with Dwight and I out at Forest Hills Golf Course. Love Forest Hills. It's spectacular out there. I love golf, and you can play golf with us. The other one is hosting the Rip City Drive. I would suggest if you're a business owner and you want 3 hours of promotion and advertisement, uh, bid on the Rip City Drive. Come in. You can talk about whatever you want for 3 hours. You want to talk about sports and have nothing but shenanigans and nonsense like the show every day? I'm cool with that. You want to talk about your business for 3 hours? I'm down with that. You want to talk about Taylor Swift? Whatever. Music, we can do whatever you want. It's your show. It is your show. You take it over. Whatever you want to do is fine by me. But go to ripcityradio.com, click on the icon for Chillin' for a Cause, and then you can take part in the auction. All proceeds, 100% of the proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest. That's all. That's what it's about, and that's what we're trying to accomplish. So we'll be there tomorrow at the Jackson's Food Mart. It's the Shell gas station that you can see off I-5, right there at I-5 and 217. The road that it sits on is Bangy Road, so you can't miss it. Right off the freeway, easy access. We'll be inside the cooler for 3 hours from 3 until 6, chilling for a cause. So stop by. Enter to win Trailblazer tickets, say hi, and most importantly, stop by so you can really gauge what it's like for the Godfather. What it's like for the Godfather to suffer, because he's made all of us suffer with some of his bad takes and his columns over the years. So now you can watch him suffer at 37 degrees for 3 hours. Now, right now, we've got multiple bids on the basketballs, and there's still a ball available with the current bid at $75. The current bid for the Coors Light Silver Seats, $350. And we're talking about 4 tickets for a Trailblazer game. Just do the math on that when you divide it up 4 ways, and it's a no-brainer. The autographed Trailblazer pennants, current bid for one of the pennants, $25. Bid to host the Rip City Drive. You can play golf with Dwight and I at Forest Hills Golf Course. Be a Trailblazer reporter for a day. And we also have the autographed Scoot Henderson jersey. And the VIP night for 4 at RVN Style Resorts Amphitheater. So that's what's cracking tomorrow. And I know a lot of you have family members who suffer from ALS, friends, and this is a great chance, a great opportunity for everyone to step up and make it happen. All right, that's the latest. Now, in regards to the trade deadline, Sean Highkin will join us coming up at 3:20. The Trailblazers really didn't do much, and this was not a big surprise, and I tried to prepare you for that, and it kind of matched up with what I was hearing. At the beginning of the year, I was convinced Malcolm Brogdon will be gone by the deadline. As we got closer to the deadline, I started hearing rumblings that they may not do anything, and essentially they did nothing, no major moves. But what I told you and what I've been saying and what I've been hearing, the best part about Joe Cronin right now is that he was under no pressure to make something happen by the deadline, none whatsoever. And I think the Blazers see this very simply, that by waiting and showing some patience, when they enter into the summertime and they get around the draft and you've got free agency, that is when you will have hopefully more teams involved in looking to make deals. And that way you can make sure you get maximum return for guys like Malcolm Brogdon. So not a surprise that we saw no movement for the Trailblazers at the deadline. And if you take a look around the league at the transactions that went down, a lot of teams weren't getting great return for what they sent out. So the Blazers, they went out and they got Delano Banton from the Boston Celtics for a heavily protected 2027 second-round pick. He is a 6'8" guard, kind of a journeyman so far in the NBA, but definitely right now with the injuries to Shaedon Sharpe, you can go out and take a flyer on a guy and see what he's about. They also called up Ashton Hagans on a 10-day contract from the Rip City Remix. And I think that is a product of the injury to Shaedon Sharpe, because for the short term, they got Hagans now, who can be another ball handler on the floor and be able to help the lineup out. But I think what you're going to see the rest of the way, it's pretty simple. I wouldn't expect Shaedon Sharpe to play any more games this season because he is going to be reevaluated at a later date. But we've got, 32 games remaining? There's not a lot of time left. I would be surprised if he plays. I wouldn't expect it. So I think what we'll see is Malcolm Brogdon and Ant in the backcourt. If one of those guys is out, they'll be replaced by Matisse Thybulle. And then Scoot Henderson will continue to come off the bench. So the same thing applies between now and the end of the season. The most important thing is the development of the young players. And with Shaedon Sharpe out of the lineup, that means Tamani Kamara, Scoot Henderson, and Jabari Walker. Development of the young players and then also continued progress with DeAndre Ayton. The last couple of weeks have been great, and he's had like 7 straight games where he's been ultra productive. They've done a better job of getting him involved early in the offense and getting him shots, and he's responded. And that's critical. They need him. They need to know what they have in him. They need to continue to get a better feel for him to know what his strengths are and how he's going to help this team moving forward. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. Development of the 3 youngsters and the continued development of Ayton now that he's in a Trailblazer uniform. And hopefully for the rest of the year, at least for Chauncey Billups, we can keep the lineup that we see now intact without any more nagging injuries that keep guys out. Because with the continuity we've seen over the last couple of weeks, and it's been limited continuity, there's been better basketball. And I think the guys will continue to play better because they know what to expect. Jabari knows he's going to start. He knows how many minutes he's going to get. He can prepare mentally and be ready for that. Scoot Henderson knows he's going to come off the bench. He'll get somewhere between 25 to 33 minutes a night. He can come in and play and continue to work on the progress he's made over the last couple of weeks. And then from there, just the coaches continue to emphasize defense and communication and moving the basketball, keeping the passes per game up, looking to set up the teammates, player movement and ball movement. So we're looking at player development 1 and how the guys respond to what the coaches want to see them happen or see happen on the floor. I don't expect the team to tank like we've seen the last couple of years. I think they'll continue to play guys until maybe we get to the very end of the season. All right, Rip City Drive, Chad Doing with you. Join us tomorrow, Friday, February 9th. We're going to be over at the Jackson's Food Mart off Bangy Road, I-5 and 217, chilling for a cause, raising money and awareness for ALS Northwest. And all you have to do is stop by. You can enter to win Trailblazer tickets and click on the icon on our homepage for Chilling for a Cause, and you'll find the link for the auction. Go bid on the items right now, and we can make a difference in the community. All right, Sean Hike and Rose Garden Report is up next on the Rip City Drive. We'll get his take on the trade deadline and what it means for the Blazers moving forward the rest of this season and into the summer. All right, Rip City Drive, NBA trade deadline has come and passed, and joining us right now is Sean Highkin. You can follow him on X at Highkin. You can subscribe to the Rose Garden Report newsletter and podcast for his award-winning independent coverage. And by the way, he is the Oregon Sports Writer of the Year. Congratulations on the award, Sean. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was a little bit unexpected when I got that call that happened. I don't think it's very common for people who aren't, with a major established outlet and are just doing this independently to get that sort of recognition. So it wasn't something I was expecting to happen, but it was definitely pretty cool to hear that.
Yeah, it's terrific. Well, you came on a couple of weeks ago, and I think this is no surprise to you, but the Trailblazers didn't make any major moves. But let's start with this. They did acquire Celtics guard Delano Banton today for a 2027 protected second-round pick. What's your take on Banton and the main purpose behind this move?
I'll be completely transparent here. He's not somebody that I've watched a whole lot of or know a whole lot about. He was a second-round pick of the Raptors a couple of years ago and hasn't really gotten in the rotation either in Toronto when he was there or in Boston this year. So I think that was mostly just a move to get them back up to the 14 required players under contract because they were down to 13 after they waived a couple of guys in early January. So they needed to get up to 14, and that second round pick that they sent out was basically a fake second round pick. It's top 55 protected. So this was basically, I would kind of liken it to them trading for just both because of the contract and because of how he's probably I would be surprised if he sticks around, but kind of what they did trading for Kevin Knox at last year's deadline. It's like, okay, this is a guy that they can, I guess, take a flyer on and see if he can do anything. And it's also, he's a guard, and so, with the news yesterday that Shaedon Sharpe is going to have the core muscle surgery where they haven't ruled him out for the season, but I'm personally operating as though he's probably done for the season. But having another body in the backcourt just in case, something happens to one of their other guys, you just have somebody else you can throw out there. I think that's really more what that was than anything.
We're talking with Sean Highkin of the Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive as we have seen the trade deadline in the NBA come and go. Now, here, at the beginning of the year, I think we all thought that, Malcolm Brogdon very likely might be moved by the deadline. But as time went along, that conversation started to change. And so what I'm wondering, Sean, is by waiting, and the great part for Cronin, he was under no pressure to make a move by the deadline this year. Is it possible that by waiting until the summer, if you're looking to make a move, you might be able to get better value in return because there'll be more teams involved in looking to make deals, potentially?
Potentially. I think it's hard to forecast that right now. What I will say is that my understanding of what the Blazers were looking to do at the deadline, if they were trading any of their guys, and whether it be Brogdon or Jeremy Grant or Matisse Thybulle, who I think were the three guys that came up the most in a lot of these rumors and discussions and whatever else. But I think they were more interested, if they were going to trade any of those guys, in getting players back. And by players, I mean somebody a little bit more impactful than like Delano Banton, who they traded for and basically gave up just like a fake second-round pick. They would be looking for players that are on the age timeline of like a Matisse Thybulle, who they traded for last year, who are guys that they can actually add to what they're already building, and the kind of the core of guys that they already have, because they do genuinely like a lot of the guys that they have, but not just at the top end with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe, but you look further down at some of these other younger guys they have with Chris Murray, Rayon Rupert, both of those guys I would expect to see a little bit more time now that the deadline has passed, and Duop Reith and some of these younger guys that they have. I think they like a lot of those guys, and they want to play those guys more, and so it becomes hard to add another player into that unless it's somebody that they feel like is going to be somebody that they'll be able to add to that group and build with going forward. And my understanding is that no player that they felt was of that caliber really presented themselves. And they also, as far as draft picks go, I think a lot of teams were reticent to give up picks beyond this year, and considering they already have 4 picks in this year's draft, 2 firsts and 2 seconds, I don't think they felt like adding more picks in this draft really would do them a lot of good, and they'd rather at that point just keep Malcolm Brogdon and have him, have him continue to, be a safety net and a guardrail for Scoot Henderson, and that's just kind of where things ended up landing.
Hey, Sean, can you put in simple terms for fans out there wondering, what the Trailblazers thinking is? Meaning, they're in year one of a rebuild, and they've got young players. Obviously, that development of the young players, I think, is critical. That would be my number one priority. But after that, like, what is Cronin and his brain trust thinking as they enter into the summertime? What's the next step in terms of what they're looking to accomplish with this rebuild?
Well, a lot of that, I think, is going to be dependent on where they fall in the lottery. And as far as the odds that they're going to have, I think they're pretty much locked into fifth in terms of where their odds are going to be, because they're not catching Detroit or Washington or Charlotte or San Antonio, and I don't think any of the teams ahead of them are really going to catch them. So they're probably going to end up with the fifth lottery odds, just like they had last year when they moved up to 3 and ended up drafting Scoot Henderson. So we'll see what ends up happening in the draft. They're probably going to have a second lottery pick where, if considering the way that Golden State's season is going and the fact that they didn't really make any major moves, they're probably going to end up in the lottery as well. So they could potentially have 2 lottery picks. They could either draft 2 guys or use them to trade up into the top 3 or 4 if they are able to do that, or potentially trade out. I don't know. What I will say is this: I don't think there's going to be they don't want this to be a 4 or 5 year rebuild where they're going to be terrible for that long and just never, not be competitive for another half decade. But I don't think they're going to be in any rush to say, we have to get back in the playoffs next year. I think they probably would feel, depending on how this offseason goes and what they do with the draft and with free agency and whatever else, I don't think there's really any sort of, we have to be in the play-in next year, or we have to be back in the playoffs next year. I think they understand that it's a little bit of a longer process than that, and it's probably going to be another year in the lottery next year. But I don't know if they're trying to stay in this zone where they are right now too long beyond that.
One question that came up to me from a Trailblazer fan yesterday, and I wanted to ask you and get your take on it. He was wondering that if you move Brogdon with a year plus part of a season compared to a year remaining on his deal, do you get more value, or does it just depend on who you're talking with and who's looking to acquire someone like that in that situation with the contract?
Depends on who you're talking to. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the types of teams that would be looking to trade for a player like Malcolm Brogdon are contending teams that may have already made moves where they sent out a bunch of future first-round picks for somebody else. And if you're Portland, you're probably going to be valuing picks in the 25, 26, or 27 draft more than you are picks in this upcoming 24 draft, both because those seem like they're supposed to be better drafts, and also because, like I said, they already have 4 picks in that draft. So when this, after this upcoming draft, then I think a lot of the restrictions that teams have on which picks they can and can't send out, a lot of that stuff kind of resets and some stuff kind of opens up. And then also, after the season, I think teams might reset and say, okay, maybe Malcolm Brogdon is somebody we should go after. Like, the market could be different. And there was a market for Malcolm Brogdon. Like, a lot of teams were interested. I just don't think any of the offers that they gave to Portland, I don't know any specific teams or specific offers that were actually in hand, but you can probably kind of do the math on what some of those were. You're basically talking about salary filler and what was going to be a mid-20s pick in this upcoming draft, and I just don't think they decided that any of those were worth pulling the trigger on, rather than just keeping Malcolm Brogdon at least for the rest of the season.
Hey, Sean, when you look around the landscape of the NBA at today's trade deadline, was there a move that jumped out at you or a general take that you had on the overall market and what went down?
Really, it was a whole lot of stuff that I don't think is going to move the needle very much. I mean, I guess the Knicks are getting a lot of praise, and I suppose they turned, they didn't give up any of their picks, and they were able to make a couple of rotational upgrades, but it really feels like we're at the point of diminishing returns for, like, how much people are invested in trade rumors, and that being the whole, thing that everybody cares about looking forward to, like, the trade deadline and free agency. There was so much hype around, like, oh, is DeJounte Murray going to get traded, or the Warriors going to do something, or the Lakers going to do something? All of these big names that are kind of getting floated, and nothing happened with any of them. I think the Knicks picking up Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks was the biggest thing that happened. And so it's always amusing to me how much. I mean, there are some years where there's a ton of stuff that happens at the trade deadline, like last year with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving both getting traded, and this year, there were a few bigger deals earlier on in the cycle, like Pascal Siakam a couple weeks ago getting traded to Indiana, or OG Anunoby getting traded to New York, but. It's always really funny to me when people hype up a trade deadline, and then it's just a whole lot of just like, oh, this mediocre team traded this salary to this other mediocre team along with a protected pick that just is moving some money around, and people are just sort of conditioned to feel like they have to have a reaction or an opinion on every single one of these tweets or every single one of these, when the Woj tweet comes in with this deal, and people have to like analyze every single one of them. It's like, okay, most of these aren't really going to do anything.
All right, Sean Highkin, you can read him at the Rose Garden Report. Terrific independent coverage of your Portland Trailblazers. Go to rosegardenreport.com. Check him out on X at Highkin. Sean Highkin here. Sean, appreciate your time. It'll be fun to watch tonight to see if the Pistons can actually field 5 players to make a team tonight after the deadline. But enjoy the game, and appreciate your time.
Always good to talk to you, Chad.
All right, there you go. Sean Highkin, big thanks to him for stopping by. He does a heck of a job. Oregon Sports Writer of the Year award winner. All right, so the Blazers didn't make any big moves, and I'm okay with it. Now, in the past, when there was more pressure to make something happen because they were trying to cash in on an opportunity to make a run with Dame and some of the vets they had, there was urgency. And so when something big didn't go down for whatever the reason may be, it was frustrating. But the mindset and the approach and the focus has changed. This is year one of a full rebuild, and the urgency to make something happen today before the deadline is just not there. And that's okay. I think being in a spot where you have, for the first time in a long time, cap flexibility, veteran pieces that eventually can be moved for picks or young players, not having to make a move today, I think having that flexibility is nice. There's no pressure. You can sit back and be patient and wait for the right return based on what you're offering up. And my guess would be during the summertime, there'll be more teams looking to make something happen, and that's where there will be hopefully a bidding war for a player like a Malcolm Brogdon. And then eventually, when Robert Williams gets healthy and they've got more pieces to work with, it'll be nice. But I like where the Trailblazers are at right now. They can be patient. And I'm not asking you to be patient. You can be whatever you want as a fan. But my approach, once I knew what the plan was and they had decided to move on from Dame, it changed my approach and my focus for what I'm looking for. What I think they're trying to do when they tear it down and start back over is to slowly piece together a roster that kind of fits the image of what they're looking for. Joe Cronin and his staff, the type of players that their coach Chauncey Billups wants, and they can slowly piece the roster together. And it takes time. They're going to hit on draft picks. They're going to miss on some draft picks. They'll hit on some players that they trade for, and they'll miss on some players they trade for. But getting as many assets as possible to have access to as many of those players that you can, it's kind of like the shotgun approach. You just give yourself more opportunities to make it happen because you're not going to hit on everything. So that's where they're at. They can remain patient. Joe Cronin is going to speak with the media tonight at 5, and then Chauncey Billups will have his normal pregame presser at around 5:15. But that's where the Trailblazers are at. So the rest of the way, from my understanding, Scoot Henderson will continue to come off the bench. He will continue to develop in that role. They like him in that role right now. And your starting lineup will consist of Malcolm Brogdon and Anthony Simons when those two guys are healthy and available. And when one of them's not, they'll probably continue to use Matisse Thybulle at guard. And then we know what the front court's going to be. DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, and Jabari Walker. And they will continue to press forward. But the most important thing right now for the rest of this year is just the development of the 3 main young guys who will be playing because Shaedon Sharpe's out with that core surgery. That's Tamani Kamara, Jabari Walker, and Scoot Henderson. Development of those 3 guys, priority number 1. And we're seeing strides with those guys throughout the course of the season, especially over the last couple of weeks with Scoot. He's looked tremendous. And then from there, DeAndre Ayton continuing to get comfortable in his role as they develop a better understanding with him. His teammates getting a better feel for him as he develops better continuity with Ant on the floor, which is coming along. And I like all of that. In fact, that's something that Chauncey talked about recently was that chemistry with Ant and DA. Take a listen.
Yeah, I'm telling you, those two they're starting to get some real chemistry between the two. Most teams are going to play Ant, in these really, really aggressive coverages. And DA is really good in that pocket area, whether he's catching it and scoring or even making decisions, making passes. I've been impressed with how he's starting to pick the defenses apart, too.
All right. Oh, the other thing, too, how about Patrick Beverley going to the Bucks? So now he and Dame, who have been rivals and taken shots at one another in the past, are now teammates. That's going to be wildly fascinating. And it gives the Bucks another guy who can be an irritant on the perimeter and be a defender. A lot of people wonder if Dame and Patrick Beverley, as soon as he's in town, will start taking shots at one another. I don't think that's how it's going to go down. Usually players like Patrick Beverley, they're really annoying and they bother you when they're on the opposing team. But when you play with a guy like that, who's got that type of edge and that type of attitude and plays hard, you respect it and you'll be able to get along. I don't envision any issues whatsoever because those rivalries of the past are now over. They're teammates. And what pros do is they put all that nonsense behind them and they join forces together and go out there and make something happen. So I'm excited to see it. I like it. I think it's going to work out just fine. The pros know how to operate when a new guy comes in that maybe they had issues with in the past, but now that they're teammates, they'll look at it differently, and they'll join forces and be able to make things happen. But that's pretty fascinating to me. Also, props to Oklahoma City for going out and getting Gordon Hayward. They didn't exactly go all in, but they bring in another veteran piece who can assist them as they make their playoff push. And really, outside of the Denver Nuggets, who I think is the best team in the Western Conference and the best team in the NBA, I'm curious to know what Minnesota and Oklahoma City will be able to do come playoff time. Are they just great regular season teams, or will they be a threat, a major threat to a team like Denver in a 7-game series come postseason time? Because it's nice to have some fresh blood, some new blood at the top in the conference to be able to go out there and contend against teams like Denver. But of what I've seen so far, as we get ready for the stretch run, I think Denver's the best team in the NBA. I think Boston is right behind them. And I think those are the two best teams in their respective conferences. Milwaukee's still got a lot of issues to sort out. I want the Bucks to win because I'd like to see Dame win a championship. But their defensive woes right now are a major concern. Because once you get into a 7-game series against, let's say, Boston, whatever weaknesses you have, the coaches will be able to expose that. And they've got to sort through some issues. And the question is Doc Rivers the right guy to make that happen and find the right mix for them to become a better defensive team, or at least a defensive team that's capable of winning a championship? I don't know. But Dame and Patrick Beverley are going to be playing together now. Wildly fascinating. All right, tomorrow, be sure to stop by if you're in the area. I would love to see you over at Jackson's Food Mart at I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road. It's the Shell gas station you can see from the freeway. You can't miss it. Right there at I-5 and 217. We're going to be out there for Chilling for a Cause. 3 hours from 3 until 6. We'll be stuck and broadcasting inside of the 37-degree cooler, raising awareness and money for ALS Northwest. Alex Brink is going to stop by. Travis Demers, Justin Myers, Lance Christensen from ALS Northwest will be there. I'm hoping that we get a very special guest to stop by, but I want you to come by and say hi. And if you stop by, you can enter and win Trailblazer tickets. And if you go to our website, ripcityradio.com, and you click on the little button in the top left-hand corner with the 3 bars on it, it'll bring down the drop-down menu. Go to our contests and promotions. You'll find the link for the page for Chilling for a Cause. And then from there, you'll find the link for the auction. We have some great items up for bid right now. 100% of the proceeds will benefit ALS Northwest, and that's what we're going to be pimping out there tomorrow. So if you're in the area, stop by. It would be great to see you. And it's the Friday before the Super Bowl, so if you need to stock up on Coors Light, you'll be able to do that. Get some snackies for the big game on Sunday, and then we'll continue to go from there. Now, if you missed it from yesterday, Brandon Lane, great handicapper, he joined me from Vegas, and I'm going to play the little portion of the conversation. We'll eavesdrop in on that conversation at 4, and he'll share his thoughts on the matchup. And it sure looks like the Chiefs are a tasty pick getting points against the 49ers. And I've told you before, I'm twisted up. The ultimate question that he was going to ask himself and trying to get the answer to is, what is Vegas wanting me to do here? What are they trying to get people to do? Because the Chiefs being underdogs is a little bit crazy, but they are. What a game that's going to be. Patrick Mahomes going for Super Bowl number 3 and trying to put themselves in a position to have a shot at the three-peat. And Brock Purdy's trying to get over on Patrick Mahomes as being the last player taken in the NFL draft last year. Mr. Irrelevant against Patrick Mahomes. And Kyle Shanahan trying to shed that label of not being the guy that can get over in the big game. Can he be flexible enough? Can he get away from his game plan if needed? He can scheme and draw plays better than anyone, but he's very rigid and doesn't like to get off the game plan. But sometimes it calls for that. All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. We'll hear from Brandon Lang at 4, and we'll keep things rolling. Blazers game day will kick off at 4:30. Chris Burkhardt will join me. We'll hear from Dave Deckard. Blazers and Pistons tonight from Motor Center with the tip-off at 7 here on your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Super Bowl 58 coming up on Sunday. Chiefs and 49ers. And as usual, the focus is on the quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is the best in the game right now. And then Brock Purdy, the, quote, game manager, as Mr. Irrelevant, trying to lead the 49ers over the Chiefs. And right now, San Francisco favored by 2.5, depending on which book you look at. But I want to play this for you because I came across it today. If you want a master class in NFL quarterback play, two of the best guys to listen to are Tom Brady and Steve Young, two of the very best who have ever done it. And this is Tom Brady explaining what the issues are right now with NFL quarterbacking and what he's seeing and what Steve Young is seeing and how the coaches are playing chess, but sometimes the quarterbacks aren't. Take a listen to this.
The coach is trying to play chess. The only problem I see in today's quarterbacking, a lot of it is the coach is trying to play chess, but the quarterbacks aren't. The quarterbacks are snapping the ball, and then they're going, okay, how do I react to what happened? And a lot of the times, there's no perfect play that can be called from the sideline on a consistent basis because they're just calling probabilities. Okay, there's a probability on third down. In short, they're going to play man-to-man coverage. So therefore, on my call sheet, I'm going to call my man-to-man beaters. Oh, they didn't call man-to-man. Looks like, a simple cover 2 zone. This play isn't really working for that. Okay, in my mind, it would be like, okay, let me get to my best cover 2 play against this look, as opposed to now we get the ball. Okay, we've got a bunch of crossing routes into cover 2. That's not good. Let me hold the ball and go run it. And then people on TV go, oh, great play, way to run. And in my mind, I'm going, why did you snap the ball? I mean, you clearly knew no one's going to be open because, I don't know, in all my years of playing, in 20 years, that wasn't going to be open. But how do we continue to say, all right, quarterbacks, you got to see the whole picture?
It's in front of the data or behind it.
Exactly.
If you're in front of it, you own it. It's reflexive. What you just described, all the things you have to handle, you handle reflexively because the data's inside of you. And the only way you can get in there is you got to go to school.
Yeah, you got to go to school. You got to learn. You got to continue to practice and understand what you're seeing on film. It's conversations like this right here between Tom Brady and Steve Young that remind me how much I don't know about football. I have no idea how quarterbacks can process at a high level when they're sitting there at the line of scrimmage and they've got to snap the ball within 10 seconds and they're diagnosing what they're seeing with the defense and what they think is going to happen. And then reacting in real time when they snap the ball to what's actually taking place. How do they do it? It's ridiculous. It's why it's the hardest position in sports to play. And that's one of the reasons why I've been very impressed with Brock Purdy. I mean, he definitely does not have the physical traits of a Patrick Mahomes, but his smarts, his study, his ability to get a play from Kyle and understand it right away and absorb that information, be able to process and understand what's going on, it's very good. And that's what you need to be able to play quarterback in the NFL today. Process at a high level. Wild. And you can see with a guy like Tom Brady, and this is why it's going to be very interesting to hear him in the booth. If he is willing to share what he's thinking and not worried about being too nice because he doesn't want to offend someone, he will be awesome. Because he's seeing things like right there was driving him crazy. He can see a play and understand what's going on, and he's like, what was the quarterback doing there? Why would you snap the ball? You weren't prepared based on the information you were getting. It's amazing. Speaking of quarterbacks, well, let's hear more from Tom Brady. Here he is. This is why I believe he's lying, but he was asked about Bill Belichick not getting a job after the season, and now it looks like he's going to be on the pine for the upcoming NFL season. He did not get hired. Here's Tom.
I don't know the criteria for hiring these guys, for hiring coaches. I have never been a part of it. I mean, I'm surprised that the greatest coach ever doesn't have a job. Absolutely. But I'm surprised a lot of things in the NFL. I'm surprised when I was a free agent, there was a lot of teams that didn't want me. I'm surprised that Steve Young started in the USFL and went to Tampa. I'm surprised that Tampa traded Steve Young to the 49ers. There's a lot of things that happen that, for one reason or another, don't go exactly the way you think they should go.
That is pretty funny. Those teams that hesitated on Tom Brady and he ended up in Tampa and they won a championship, don't you think they regret that? I wonder if the 49ers regret not making a stronger push for Tom Brady when he was available. You got a chance to bring in the greatest of all time and you hesitate on that? It cost you a championship. And it's got to be tough for guys like Tom or Bill because the hoodie, once he parted ways with the Patriots, he's like, I've won 6 rings. I'm the greatest coach of all time. This is not going to be an issue. But it turned out to be an issue. And I'm sure Tom's like, wait, what? They don't want to talk to me? What? I'm only the greatest quarterback of all time. I just wonder with Tom, like, is he secretly happy the Bills did not get a job? Because, you know, they don't like each other right now. Maybe with time, they'll be able to mend their differences, but that's not right now. My guess is Tom kind of likes the fact that he did not get a job. Crazy. Also, Patrick Mahomes. Are the Chiefs the villains?
Hi, Patrick. Chris Jones talked about the fact that you guys are now becoming like the villains of the NFL. There's a growing narrative out there. I know everyone prefers to be liked, but is it a role that you kind of enjoy in a way? Do you feed off of that?
Not necessarily. I think I just like winning. If you win a lot and that causes you to be a villain, then I'm okay with it. But at the end of the day, I'm going to enjoy playing the game and try to win as much as possible.
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes. I'll share my thoughts on that when we come back, and we'll hear from Brandon Lang as he gives some analysis on the 49ers being favored and where the value might be on this line for the Super Bowl. Blazer Game Day is at 4:30. Pistons and Blazers at 7. That's coming up tonight here on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, now 4 o'clock, getting you up to date on the NBA trade deadline. The Trailblazers acquired Celtic guard Delano Blanton for a future second-round pick. OKC acquired Gordon Hayward from the Charlotte Hornets for guards Trey Mann, Valise Micic, and forward Davis Bertans. Brooklyn Nets acquired Dennis Schroeder and Thaddeus Young from the Raptors in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie. The Knicks acquired Bohan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Pistons for Evan Fournier, Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, and Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks. The Jazz send Kelly Olynyk to the Raptors for a first-rounder, and the Sixers are acquiring Buddy Hield from the Indiana Pacers for Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, and 3 second-round picks. Patrick Beverley and Damian Lillard are now teammates. Sixers send Beverley to the Bucks and Jaden Springer to the Boston Celtics for second-round picks. That, according to sources. Join us tomorrow at the Jackson's Food Mart at I-5 and 217 off Bangy Road. Chilling for a cause. Dwight and I will be there 3 to 6 broadcasting from the cooler. You know, Patrick Mahomes was asked about the Chiefs being villains. I don't know if they're villains or not. I just think when you win a ton and you become a dynasty, that there are people out there that will hate on you because you win. And they want to see you get knocked off. That's what it's all about. And the Chiefs right now are the dynasty in the NFL, just like it was the Patriots before them. So you'll have a lot of people pulling for the 49ers on Sunday and Brock Purdy because they like the underdog story. For me, look, I don't like the Chiefs. I grew up an AFC West fan. I'm a Denver Bronco. So I'm not down with the Chiefs, but I respect the heck out of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I think the other reason why some dislike the Chiefs is because of all the hype and the chaos with Taylor Swift and her involvement with Travis Kelce. I think that bothers some people, and it's just another reason for them to root against the big bad Kansas City Chiefs, who are trying to win their 3rd championship with this Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid alignment. So we'll see how things shake out on Sunday. Also, Brock Purdy was asked about being a game manager. No one likes that word, game manager, but here's Brock Purdy.
I feel like it can be a compliment at times where it's like, all right, you got a guy that can come in and run the system well. I feel like that's a compliment. I think that's, you're doing things right mentally, and obviously you're good enough to be able to hit guys that are open and make plays. There's 32 teams in the NFL, and there's not a lot of people that can come in and play the quarterback position well in the NFL. It's a hard job. So if you're saying that I'm a game manager and I don't look flashy in how I do it, I mean, that's your opinion, and that's okay. And at the end of the day, I want to do what it takes to help my team win. And so I think winning at the end of the day in the NFL is probably the biggest and most important thing.
All right, there's Brock Purdy. Props to him. Do I think it's ideal to have Brock Purdy as your quarterback when you're taking on Patrick Mahomes? No. The challenge in having a quarterback like Brock Purdy is that you need everything else around him to be functioning at a high level to have great success. Now, fortunately for the 49ers, Dan Campbell is crazy. He opened up the door for the 49ers to make a comeback in the NFC title game, and they did. And Brock Purdy made some big plays down the stretch. They also came together and put together a nice drive at the end of the Packer game to win. So Brock Purdy is doing everything that you could possibly hope in a 49er uniform. The question is on Sunday, they're going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. If they get off to another slow start, can they overcome it? If they're up against that defense, which is right now the best in Kansas City, and Brock Purdy's got to make plays through the air when the Chiefs know it's coming, can he make it happen? And he's got a chance to silence all of his critics because I don't think he can. But he's had a tremendous year. He is a terrific story, and he's done a great job. The guy doesn't even make $1 million a year, and he's out there playing for a championship against Patrick Mahomes. That's pretty awesome. My concern for the 49ers right now is that defensive front. Where have they been? Because that's the group that's making all the money. They might want to get a little more pressure on Patrick Mahomes or get off to a better start than we saw against Green Bay when they were getting lit up on the ground, or Detroit, who was having their way for 2.5 quarters. They just can't afford to do that against the Chiefs on Sunday. In fact, they better get off to a good start and get a lead and put the Chiefs in an uncomfortable position. Because if Kansas City gets the early lead and they're able to run the football and have balance, Patrick Mahomes is not going to make a big mistake to allow the 49ers to get back in the game. I think a quick start for San Francisco is critical. Make sure you have a game plan for Travis Kelce as well. He's going to get the ball. You might want to come up with a way to slow him down. Crazy. All right, Brandon Lang, longtime handicapper. He joined me yesterday from Vegas, and he kind of broke down some of the numbers and why there are a lot of things favoring the Chiefs, who are getting points going into this game on Sunday. Let's take a listen.
Mahomes is 12-1 against the spread as an underdog. The only quarterback to beat him in his NFL career when he has been an underdog is who?
Brady.
Easy.
Brady.
Yes, the GOAT. Only guy. Only guy that's beat him when he's a dog. And in that game that he beat him, what happened in that game? Brady threw a pick. Houston lined up offsides. Brady got a second chance. Brady beat him. Houston doesn't line up offsides. The interception stands. Kansas City beats New England.
That's right.
That's it. He's from being lined up offsides, being a perfect 13-0 against the spread as an underdog. Andy Reid, out of a bye week, with the Chiefs, 27-4 straight up.
Wow.
Just based on those numbers, it's telling you the Chiefs are the right side of the game. For me, who's releasing the game tomorrow, I understand Vegas made San Francisco the favorite. I'm like, why? Why aren't the Chiefs laying 2.5? Why? What am I missing here? What is Vegas trying to get me to do?
Exactly.
That's the question. They're trying to get me to bet the Chiefs. You got to be smart enough to be like, hey, maybe Vegas is just flat out wrong. Well, what do you mean, B. Lang? Well, they were flat out wrong last year when they made the Eagles a 2-point favorite. They were wrong. Are they wrong again for the second straight year? That's what I have to figure out tonight.
All right, with the money flow, where are the sharps at on this game, and where's the public?
So the sharps are on KC, 64% right now. 64% of the money is on Kansas City in Vegas. That's sharp money, not public money. If it was public money, that line would be moving. Sharp money doesn't move the line. The public money moves the line. So the public just keeps hammering one side of the game. I'm anxious to see if we get any line movement tonight. I don't think we will. I think it's going to stand pat at 2. I don't think they can bump it up to 2.5 because then everybody will buy it up to 3. And some people buy it up to 3.5 and spend 170, 180. So I think it's going to stay right at 1.5, 2. But so far, sharp money's on KC.
There's Brandon Lang. Also, this nugget here from longtime handicapper and Vegas insider Mark Lawrence. Super Bowl nugget from the well-oiled machine. Super Bowl teams were sporting the better record have gone 1-15 against the spread since 2004. Amazingly, the only point spread winner was in the Super Bowl back in 2017 when New England stormed back from a 28-3 deficit against the Falcons to win in overtime. In a game that amounted to a perfect storm of issues when the Patriots offense came alive late and the Falcons completely sputtered down the stretch. For what it's worth, the 49ers own the better record over the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58. That's crazy. There's another number supporting the Chiefs. So I guess for me, I see it going down. It's going to be close. I think the Chiefs are going to win. And I keep it simple. I'm not trying to overthink this. They have the best quarterback. They've got the better defense. And while Kyle Shanahan is a genius, I do believe that, Andy Reid is a better coach. And they've been there and done that. They've won the championship. And in the end, Patrick Mahomes is not going to make a mistake to lose a game for his team. And their defense will be able to keep Brock Purdy in check. Now, the wild card is Christian McCaffrey. And I go back to what I was telling you about his time at Stanford when David Shaw and his coaches would put together the McCaffrey project to find different ways to get him the ball so he could impact the game. He's the wild card because the one thing about the Chiefs' defense, and we were talking about this with Brian Noe yesterday, you can run the football on them. You can have success running the football against the Chiefs. If they commit to that and they're able to get off to a fast start and McCaffrey is picking up big chunks of yards between the tackles, they're getting him involved in the passing game, and he becomes a focal point of the offense, Kansas City could be in trouble because that's the one guy that they may not have the answer for. And I don't know Debo and Kittle and the rest of their crew, but it's all about Christian McCaffrey because if he's gouging them in the run game, all of a sudden the bootlegs and the play-action game that Shanahan loves so much will be right there. And then Brock Purdy could have some openings downfield with guys like Debo and Brandon Ayuk. So I'm excited to see that. What's amazing about the Chiefs so far through this playoff run with victories over Miami, Buffalo, and then Baltimore in the AFC Championship is how the young receivers have come along throughout the course of the season. And I guess I give credit to the Chiefs championship culture and the way that they show patience. Andy Reid continuing to coach those guys up. Patrick Mahomes showing great leadership. But I think the big difference for the Chiefs this year is Patrick Mahomes' progression as a quarterback. Just continuing to emerge and understand the finer points of the position, not going to put his team at risk, understanding what they're good at, what they're not good at, and not taking as many risks. He's okay dumping the ball off now. He's okay throwing it away or taking a sack to avoid the big turnover because he understands his defense is good enough to get him the ball back so he can live to fight another down. And when the game slows down and you start to understand the nuances at that position and you've got the arm talent and the physical attributes of Mahomes, the sky's the limit. And Tom Brady was great at that. He would simply just sit back and take what the defense was giving him and just pick them apart with 4, 5, 6 yards at a time. Patience. And with Andy Reid and the coaching, it kind of reminds me of what we're seeing in Portland right now with Scoot. Just be patient, continue to coach, and eventually it'll come along. And that's what we're seeing with the young receivers for the Chiefs. But you know how these games are. Every big game usually comes down to 4 or 5 big plays that determine the outcome of the game. That's really what it comes down to. And, I guess for Kyle Shanahan, it's pretty amazing he's gotten 2 teams to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and Jimmy Garoppolo as his quarterbacks. I mean, that takes some high-level coaching to be able to pull that off. A little bit different when you got Patrick Mahomes. All right, when we come back, special guest is going to join me in studio. And then we got Blazer Game Day coming up at 4:30 here on the home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Rip City Drive, Chad Doing here, and you've heard me talk a lot about Power Kia lately, especially with the EV9 that I've been driving around in. The first full electric car I've driven, and it's the only full electric, full-size SUV on the market. But joining me right now in studio is the general sales manager at Power Kia, it's Jimmy Hayes. Jimmy, first off, thanks for coming by. It's great to have you in studio.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Good to be here.
Boy, the EV9, really nice. You were right. I can't believe the power. I can't believe the technology nowadays. Like my first experience with the full electric, but the charging experience, just the drivability and how comfortable it is. It was mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, the way that, automobiles are progressing, is really something to be looked at. And I think it's a really exciting time to be looking for a new car, and they're incredible.
All right, I think one thing that's important, Power Kia is the #1 Kia dealer in Oregon, but you guys also have the largest inventory in Oregon of all Kias. And so talk about the importance of inventory. So if people are shopping for a car, they want a new car, why is that so critical to deal with Power Kia, who is the #1 Kia dealer, but also has the largest inventory of Kias in the state?
Yeah, I think it's really important to partner with your buying experience with somebody that you trust and somebody that you can get all the correct information from. And by having a huge selection and making sure that we're transparent in our pricing on our website, it really is going to help you make that decision so much easier when it comes down to actually making the purchase of your new vehicle.
Well, I think you bring up a great point, and it's something I've talked about with my dad for years when it comes to the, car buying, is that a lot of times when you go online and you look at a particular car with a certain price, then when you show up on the lot, it's not exactly the same, right?
That's correct.
And I think that you're not getting the right information. It's a different car. There's different things added in, so it changes the price. But you guys don't deal in any of that. Can you give me an example of what exactly that means?
Yeah, something that you might see if you're shopping at a competitor is, you see a car online, maybe you like it, you think it has a good price, and you show up, maybe it has some dealer-added accessories. That's something that most places you're going to see is going to be on their price when you show up to the store that you might not see online. At Power Kia, we like to be very transparent about our pricing. We have no dealer-installed accessories, so you won't come to our store and see a price and then added for, floor mats or wheel locks or anything like that. So it's really what you see is what you get, and that inspires confidence in our buyers.
I like that. The other thing I like about the website is when you're shopping, you guys have the Shop by Payment tool, which I think is great because you can search based on what payment you want to pay for your car, because everyone's got a budget that they're looking to fit certain things into. So explain the Shop by Payment tool and why that's such a great additive to the website.
It's just really simplified, and simplifying the buying experience, because, you go on the website, you figure out what kind of payment you can afford, so you don't have to have us do all the math for you. And then you just put your budget in, and then our website does the heavy lifting. It's going to tell you what car is going to fit your budget. It makes things really simple.
What's the biggest changes you've seen with Kias over the years? Because I'll tell you what, when you look at the new ones now, it's mind-blowing in terms of how they look, the logo, very clean, and different options in terms of if you got a big family, if you don't, if you want electric, if you don't, whatever. You guys, they've got a little bit of everything now.
Yeah, we do have a lot to choose from, and you're going to have, pretty much an electric or hybrid electric or maybe a plug-in variant of almost all the models that Kia is producing right now. That's really exciting to see, and it's really great to see Kia have all these different options for people to choose from.
We're talking with Jimmy Hayes, who is the general sales manager at Power Kia here on the Rip City Drive. With full electric, how are people responding to that now that the cars have been around longer and the technology is there? What's the general vibe you get from people when they're shopping for a full electric?
Well, they're a lot less fearful than when they first came out, and it's really, really opened up a lot of people's eyes to being able to do good for the environment as well as doing good for themselves. It's going to, you're going to drive past the gas stations. You're going to be able to get, charging in great spots. And you're also going to get that premium parking that most people like to take advantage of.
I noticed that, too, with the EV9. I was over at Motor Center doing the Trailblazer pregame show, and normally I've got to park up on, level 3 and then come down. But with the electric, right in front of the door that I enter into Motor Center, I was able to back in, plug in my car, start charging it, so I get front row parking, and then after the game I came out full charge. That's genius.
You really can't beat it.
I love it. So, I think car buying, at least when I grew up and I learned from my dad how to go through that whole process, I think a lot of people are fearful about it. What I like about Power Kia is family-owned business. a lot of the people that have worked there, like yourself, have been there for a long time. And I think that family connection and the way that you guys work and deal with people is the big difference. I mean, you see that, right?
Yeah, I think it's really important because so many other things in this world are complicated, and we just like to make things a little more simple when it comes to having to deal with something like this, dealing with purchasing a new car. So,
how long have you been at Power Kia?
I've been there for 3 years.
How are you enjoying it so far?
Oh, I love it.
The car business. When I go down there and check out the dealership, you guys are hopping too. Like it's similar to like radio and covering events where it's like it's high adrenaline. Like you're always busy, got things going on.
Always busy. There's always something going on. There's always somebody to help. So we enjoy it.
Oh, I almost forgot to ask. I know a lot of people like to shop or look for used cars. You guys also have because of all your dealerships, you've got a large selection of used or pre-owned vehicles as well.
Yes. We have tons of used cars. I mean, there's over 1,000 to choose from at pretty much any point in time. So if that's what you're after, that's definitely something we can help out with as well.
All right. If you're looking for a new car, if you're in the market for a new car, or you're looking for a pre-owned vehicle, PowerKia.com. Power Kia is the #1 Kia dealer in Oregon with the largest inventory, great selection, and as we mentioned before, you can use the Shop by Payment tool. Go to PowerKia.com. Hey, Jimmy, I appreciate you stopping by, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. This is great.
And thank you for taking care of me.
Anytime.
All right, big thanks to Jimmy for stopping by. PowerKia.com. Man, that EV9 is nice. Very nice. All right, here's what's coming up the rest of the way. Chris Burkhardt is now in the house. Big props to Mike Oakes for handling master control. Blazer Game Day is going to take over. We're getting ready for the Pistons and Trailblazers, so we're going to react to what went down at the trade deadline. We'll hear a little bit from Dave Deckard. Hopefully, we'll be able to hear from both Chauncey and Joe Cronin. The Blazers, no major moves. So I'll kind of break down why that turned out to be the case and why it's probably a good thing that Portland did not make a move today. And the great thing about being in a position where you've got options, you can be patient, you don't have to rush, and there was no pressure on Portland to make a move today. All right, big thanks to Mike Oakes. Blazers Game Day with Chris Burkhardt and Chad Doing is coming up next. And the tip-off with the Pistons at 7 o'clock. So be here or be nowhere. And tomorrow, join us over at Jackson's Food Mart, I-5 at 217 off Bangy Road. It's the Shell station you can see from the freeway. Dwight and I are going to be inside the cooler at a frosty 37 degrees, broadcasting, raising awareness and money for ALS Northwest. I'll give you more details coming up next.